WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:36 here on O'Connor and Company as Mercedes Schlapp and I, Larry O'Connor, send you into your Christmas weekend. Patrice Onwuka will be, of course, with us tomorrow for our last pre-Christmas extravaganza.
Fun.
I know, it's close. I love that. Were you when you were a kid, were you the countdown kid? Were you like looking at the advent calendar every
countdown kid. Absolutely. Oh, yes. Yeah. I don't know if it stressed me out more to count down, too, because I was
now
like,
that
it's
you're
going
a
to be
parent,
over.
it's stressful, right? Well, Mark Morgan is probably that kind of guy, too. He, of course, the former acting commissioner of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection during the Trump administration. But sadly, there's not a whole lot of Christmas cheer to go around right now when you look at the status of our border. As bad as it seems, Mark, it got even worse this week, didn't it?
Yeah, can you imagine it? I mean, the first year under the Biden administration, he set every single record. Then in FY22, he beat that record. FY23, he beat that record. And now in FY24, the first 2 months, he set new levels of historic flow of illegal immigration coming in. And just the last 2 months, there's been more total nationwide encounters under the Biden administration than the full last year under the Trump administration, to put that in perspective. This is unsustainable for any country in the face of the planet, including this country.
Yeah, by the way, it should be pointed out that you were the acting commissioner of Customs and Border Protection during that last year of the Trump administration. That's when we worked with our partners in Mexico and other countries. We had Remain in Mexico. We had new provisions for asylum seekers that they would ask in their own home countries. How quickly can we turn this around, Mark, when we get a new president who's actually takes seriously his constitutional responsibility to protect our border?
That's a great question. Look, we can start making extreme difference literally on day one. And I'm gonna tell you how, and I'm not trying to be facetious, but literally all we have to do is look up on the shelf and look where it says Trump Border Security Plan. Pull it off the shelf, dust it off, and start implementing it. I'll give you a couple examples. On day one, he needs to declare a national emergency. On day two, he needs to start reconstruction of the border wall. On day three, he needs to reinstitute a couple of policies you just mentioned. The asylum cooperative agreements with all three Northern Triangle countries. He needs to reinstitute the Remain in Mexico program. And a significant one, he needs to force Mexico, just like he did before, to get some skin in the game and actually secure their southern border, increase their interior enforcement to stop the flow. And the last thing, he actually needs to unleash ICE to be able to do its job. And I'm going to steal a line from Tom Holman, and unleash the largest massive deportation operation that this country's ever seen. You do those steps and you're going to see a difference.
So we've seen authorities encounter nearly 27,000 illegal immigrants in 48 hours. These are numbers you're saying that are like we've never seen before. We're seeing that people are just being released, and then they're saying, okay, you can have an immigration hearing in 2031. Is it just too late? Mark, are we just at a point that it is just too late to salvage this, to get our national security under control?
Mercedes, I think the answer is yes, to some degree. Now, look, can we reverse it? Can we start making an impact? All that is true, but so is what you just said. Look, I get asked all the time, hey, Mark, because we talk about the national security threat, right? We know that we have illegal aliens on the FBI's terror screening database come in. We know that we have aliens from special interest, we call special interest aliens from countries that we know sponsor, facilitate, and harbor terrorism. And so we get asked, well, Mark, are you concerned that the threat could come? And I say no. And they look at me like, no? I say, no, it's already here. I mean, Mercedes,
yeah.
So both is true. We can reverse course, but to some degree it's already too late. The threat is already here. We could already have a terrorist cell in the country planning the next terrorist attack. And let's not forget, 1.8 million known gotaways. And we know among them are murderers, rapists, pedophiles, aggravated felons, and gang members. I mean, the threat is already here.
Mark, it's funny. I engaged with a friendly discussion with somebody on my vacation about what to do after we secure the border, because we've got upwards to 8 to 10 million people who have come into this country illegally, many of them under bogus asylum claims. And I said they have to be deported. They have to be sent home. We can't be forced to inherit them. And there was a bit of a debate about how to get that done. Seems to me if you enforce E-Verify nationwide and you keep employers from being able to hire them, and you actually start prosecuting some employers for illegally hiring people who shouldn't be in this country, then you start to actually make a dent here. If you don't deport people directly, people will leave because they're here for jobs. You stop giving them benefits, and you stop allowing them to work here illegally, and they're not going to stay. Or am I being naive?
No, you're absolutely 100% right. And here's why I can say this with confidence, because that's what history has shown. Decade after decade, when any administration actually had strength and political will to do exactly what you just said, that's what happens. It's common sense. If you take away the incentives, right, and the incentives are they want to be released illegally. They want to be free from deportation. They want to work illegally, send money home, and bring family members. If you de-incentivize, if you take all of those away, they will start – some of them will self-report. But here's what's very important. They'll also stop coming. And so it's not just the fact that we secure our physical borders. We have to de-incentivize people to illegally enter our borders. And how we do that is we address those 5 things. And one last thing I want to – and sometimes people say, well, Mark, well, how do you deport millions and millions? And I say, look, one at a time. I mean, and I'm not being facetious, right? I mean, there really is going to be a whole of government approach. And again, I'll go back to Steele and Tom Homan's line, is we have to have a whole of government approach to really pull off the largest deportation operation we've ever seen, because it's not enough to secure the borders. Because if people still believe that if they make it in, they're going to stay, they're going to keep coming. They're just that's right. They're just going to get better at sneaking in.
Yeah, I love that one at a time thing. Let's face it. Everybody knows the road that they drive on, that they have to watch themselves, otherwise they will get pulled over for speeding, right? And that we know that road. We don't, and there's no cameras, but you know the one that the cops are always watching. And the cops have enforced it. They haven't pulled everybody over that's sped, but you've seen 1 or 2 people that get pulled over. That's all you need to know that if you break the law, you're going to get busted. That's how this works.
That's it. I mean, we've even seen where some police departments will just park a car, an empty old police car on the side of the road as a deterrence, right? Yeah. And that's so key, Larry, because that's exactly what Governor Abbott just did with SB 4. It's a deterrence. Now it's a state crime to enter illegally, and now he's going to be able to detain, prosecute, and potentially remove. That serves as a strong deterrence, a strong de-incentivization of people to actually come across illegally. And that was the crux of the plan under the Trump administration, right? And by February of 2020, we had reduced illegal immigration by 85%, almost a 40-year low. And what was the results of that? That meant we had more law enforcement and national security officers and agents back on the front lines securing our border. Fewer drugs, fewer criminals, and fewer national security threats were coming into our country.
So let me bring up Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. He said on Tuesday, he suggested taking President Biden off the ballot in Texas due to the handling or mishandling of immigration, citing the Colorado Supreme Court's ruling to kick former President Trump off that state ballot. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I think like the Democrats obviously have taken it full force of trying to take Donald Trump off the ballot. In this case, they're saying, well, I mean, come on, it's a dereliction of duty, and President Biden obviously is ignoring what's happening at the border. Your thoughts?
So my gut is an American, because I think everyone believes that we have this huge perception of a two-tiered system of justice. So my gut is, hey, they're doing it to President Trump, then we should be doing it to President Biden as well. But look, Mercedes, I back off a little bit of that, and what I do say is, hey, look, let's not continue to improperly use the courts for political reasons. Amen. But there is a political process. It's called impeachment, right? So I mean, Secretary Mayorkas should be impeached. And I do believe what's happening on our border is absolutely an impeachable offense for the president. The Constitution is very clear. Article 4, Section 4 says that the federal government mandates. It's not shall. It's not if they want to, or if they feel like it, or have the political will. It says they must secure and defend our borders from any threat from outside his borders. This president has intentionally abdicated that responsibility. He took the most secure border in our lifetime and intentionally unsecured it, jeopardizing every aspect of our nation's safety, health, and national security.
Well said. Mark Morgan, former Commissioner of Border Protection. Everyone nationwide listening on the WMAL app now wants to know what kind of dog you have.
I know.
I was hoping. You, Mercedes, you know, right?
Wait, I forgot. Is it the German Shepherd or the Aussie?
Aussie, Australian Shepherd.
Aussie. Okay, I was trying to remember.
Shepherd. Yeah, it didn't sound as deep and robust as a German Shepherd.
No, I was trying to remember.
Aussie
I'm like,
Shepherds are good. They try to herd you wherever you go, right, as you're walking in the house.
Absolutely.
I love
In fact, she's sitting right here by me now. I was hoping you didn't hear that.
Merry Christmas, Mark. Great talking with you.
Merry Christmas to both of you.
It's 8:47.